Hello, I'm Harry for TV, remember you don't have to. And tonight we're going to be reacting to the third installment in the Gateway to Hell series, Inside the Hell, by Bro7. And last time we reacted to the second episode. It was quite disturbing towards the end. So I haven't seen this in a while, so I don't remember all of it, but hopefully it'll be quite disturbing. And without further ado, the original link in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to Bro7, leave a like on this video, and let's begin. Only hope that we never lose sight of what the one thing that was all started by a mouse. Whoa. Wasn't expecting that. This might sound really racist, but for some reason Mickey Mouse looks really disturbing, like with a black face and like white face paint. I did not mean that in a racist way. So
I woke up a few hours after I'd passed out, laying in a puddle of my own vomit. I looked around at my surroundings. The room crawling with cobwebs and spiders, skulls laid all over the floor. I looked out into the open room. It was completely void of life. I slowly crawled from underneath the bed, looking around, seeing if anything was in there. Nothing. But I could hear noises coming from the other room, the one with the TV. I crouched down on my knees and sneaked my way into the room. The door to the hallway was cracked open, and I noticed on the table where the girl was a few hours ago was nothing left but a few loose bits of skin and bones. I heard movement come from my right side, and I peered into the doorway to see 4 beings sitting down, eating something, while watching the Suicide Mouse cartoon. I sat there for about 5 to 10 minutes.
I don't know why, but that's really funny.
They were just sitting there watching.
Suicide Mouse isn't exactly anything to have dinner in front
I could see all 4 of them sitting there.
All it is Mickey walking down the road and
Mickey Mouse,
strange noises.
Unhinged jaw, Donald Duck. And now I can clearly see the other 2 figures. It was an abnormally long, slender-looking Pinocchio figure, but not like the friendly puppet we all learned to love. This thing was really slender and covered in knots and chunks of.
That looked really creepy, and funnily enough, it's actually accurate to how he looked in the book.
Instead of fingers, it had claws, and its limbs were so deranged and deformed. Its clothing was torn up, stained with blood, and it even had some chunks still left on it. The other figure was Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Taking a quick glance at her startled me because it should have resembled a little teenage blonde girl. Looked like, God, I don't even know what to call it. It looked as if Alice had been beaten to death and decomposed inside of water. I couldn't see the complete faces of each of the monsters, but they looked to be abnormally tall, and Mickey in fact resembled a rat more than anything. I don't even know if he's a mouse. After waiting around for a little bit, I noticed that they were preoccupied with the TV, so I slowly started to back up, never taking my eyes off of each side. I kept on swapping my vision back from the door to the hallway to the arch leading to the TV room. I finally made my way to the door, this time not taking my eyes off the arch. I grabbed the handle, and I pulled the door open. Something James and I were always bad at is that we were clumsy as all hell. So you could imagine my reaction when I stumbled a little bit, slamming the door shut. I heard the TV inside the arch room shut off. I heard footsteps of abnormally large, deformed monsters moving to the door as fast as they could. In a matter of seconds, I got back to my feet as my back turned to the hallway, faced the door, and unholstered my gun. I kept walking until my back hit the door behind me. I reached behind me for the doorknob, twisted it, and went in. Shutting the door behind me as fast as I possibly could, I didn't make a single noise, but I heard the door slam open and footsteps leading down both directions of the hallway. I bet you're wondering how I even got the gun in here to begin with. Let's just say I know a few friends in Disney, and they also believe something bad happened to my brother that Disney did, and they wanted me to get my revenge and my closure, so they helped me sneak in, and they let my weapons pass.
You have
Which is lucky for
friends
me,
at
because
Disney
I'd say if
World?
there's ever been a situation where I needed this 44 fucking mag, I'd say it's right now. I pushed my ear against the door and waited for the footsteps to fade. Just then I realized that I was in another room. The room was very dark, like no light at all. So I flipped on my trusty flashlight. The light pierced through the darkness and lit up the once dark room. Cobwebs were everywhere. But still, not even a spider could hide from the side of my eye. I was looking everywhere now, making sure none of those demons were inside here too. The room was small, unlike the other one. There was no table or any knives hanging from the ceiling. However, there was quite a bit of garbage. And when I say garbage, I mean bones. Everywhere scattered amongst were bones. Human bones, dog bones. Bones that I can't even identify where they came from. There was writing smeared all over the walls. I don't know what was used to make the letterings, but it all said, "Trapped. Inside. Don't come. Stay." The words made no sense to me, but I did want to explore more, so I kept pushing my way through the room. There was 3 doors. One to my left, one to my right, and one dead in front of me. I decided to go basic instinct and went right through the middle. I looked around, and it seemed to resemble a room, like a little kid's room. It had all sort of different artifacts inside of it, like baseballs and bats and little Disney figurines with the eyes carved out. And I looked on the walls, and there was even more sayings. You're trapped. You're lost. You're forgotten. I kept looking around. Through the piercing blackness, I shined my light in the middle of the room and saw something hanging from the ceiling. It was a noose with a chair knocked over underneath it. There was a few things of furniture, including a desk, a bed, and a nightstand. However, it just felt like everything was gray. There was no color to the room. It was completely void of it. My clothes and my skin were the only things in the room that had color to them. I looked at the bed, and what looked like to be a shape underneath the covers. I readied my gun with my other hand as I put the flashlight down. As I reached for the covers, I suddenly ripped them back and saw a basketball with clothes underneath it, resembling a human corpse underneath. I felt silly to myself, thinking what could have been down there? What could have been inside the covers? I chuckled a little bit, forgetting about the cold evil outside those doors. But that's when I heard it.
Oh, killing music.
The handle to the door that I had just come through started moving, and it opened up the room. I quickly turned my flashlight off and hid inside the corner. I heard faint footsteps walk in. As I shut the door behind it, and something had walked across the room, right past me, and then before I knew it, a lamp turned on. I readied my gun. As the darkness flooded the room and the light filled up the empty void that was the darkness, I saw it. My heart pounded as fast as I've ever felt it. My eyes started to water as my hands trembled, my gun shaking in my hands. was James.
Whoa, now, what?
At least something that resembled him. But it didn't look just like the James I grew up with. It looked like something different. It didn't look like him. It looked like a monster.
Creepy music.
Its eyes were expanded, pupils deafening, and the gigantic void that filled them. Eyes pure black. The hair was all messy and dirty, while the hands were manipulated and what looked to be some fingers cut off. He was wearing the clothes that he died in. His teeth were extra long, and his ears were pointed. At least one of them. The other half looked like it had been bit off. He was wearing a bow tie over all of this. And his feet, he looked to have pig's hoofs.
Ooh.
Instead of feet, he had hoofs. And he just stared into my soul. The room was completely silent as we stared at each other. No words could be said. I tried to stay strong and show no weakness. Whatever it was, I had to tell myself it was not James. It just looked at me. Eventually, it opened up its mouth with a diluted tongue, and it spoke. Frederick? My heart stopped. Frederick, it's me. It's your brother James. You didn't listen to me. I told you to stay away. I told you not to go to the gateway, and you didn't listen. I had no words. What was I going to say? I watched my brother get buried 6 feet into the soil. I saw his body hanging from the ceiling, and it was nothing.
Wait a
like
minute.
the way it is now.
If he was hanging, then how did he...
Are you going to say anything?
Why was there a gun noise
I hope you
in the
understand why I
second
did
one?
what I did. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just meant to save myself. It got up as it started walking towards me. Freeze! I screamed out. He stopped in his tracks. Brother, please. This is me. I know I look not my own, but this is me. I promise. I watched you get buried. I watched your body hang back and forth. I took you down.
But that's the way he showed himself.
I don't believe what I'm seeing. Explain yourself. Give me a reason not to pull the fucking trigger, you demon. He nodded and went over to the wall. You see, brother, this place, it's not what you think it is. Where do you think you are right now? I looked at him with a confused look. I'm underneath Disney. He looked back at me. Well, you see, that's the problem. You're not. I curiously asked back, then where the fuck am I? This is going to be hard for you to understand, but you're in hell. Because you entered the gateway to hell. The gateway to hell? What are you talking about? That room that you entered, the janitor closet, it's a gateway. Something that Walt Disney tried hiding a long time ago, and it became a dimensional portal into hell. This is sort of like a customized hell. It's a Disney-themed version of it. I was the last person to come down here, and I died.
Judging how
So I was sent back here.
judging how corrupt Disney has
still
become
am
now,
me. I'm still myself.
I'd let you.
Just things have changed. You mean besides your appearance? Yeah. There's certain things I have to do. So, come along. I had to trust my dead, mutilated brother and hope to God that he's not gonna fucking kill me. He took me out of the room. As he reached for the next door, we opened it up and walked right on through. I heard a switch hit, and the lights turned on, and my jaw practically dropped. All over the room was bodies. bodies and art drawn out with blood. You see, we have to do certain things down here. I work for him now. Him. I think you sleep better not knowing who he is. You see, only certain people can enter the gateway. People like me. The reason why you were able to come down here is because you're family. And family of blood can come down here. What about the girl? James, there was this girl dressed up in a blue outfit with blonde hair. She was in a Disney princess, I think Cinderella dress. These things mutilated her. Do you mean the demons? Yes. Well, they have to eat. We all have to eat. What do you mean you have to eat? You see, sometimes they lure people, like me, down here, to eat. And those that escape, if they do something bad and they kill themselves or kill another person, they go to hell. But instead of the normal hell, they go to the personal hell. Like this. This is where I went. So why can't you just leave? Well, I can't. A demon can't go up there. They just can't. In fact, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but the girl that you saw was not Cinderella. Then what the hell was she, James? She was an Elsa. Who the
That'll teach her for
a
making Let It Go unbearable.
Becomes a princess in another Disney movie that comes out in a few years. You see, time really has no relativity here. You sort of enter the gateway no matter what time it is, and it's just completely random when you do eventually show up here. So then tell me, how the hell do I get out of this place? James had a frown on his face and he looked at me, as if he was admitting to a crime. Well, you see, that's the hard part. You can't. What do you mean I can't? Because I'm hungry. The hairs on my skin started to crawl up. I felt the shivering sensation in my body. I looked at James, who was now looking directly into my eyes. I told you not to come here, but you didn't listen, and now you've got to pay. All of a sudden, James springed at me.
What is with that mouth and those teeth? That's like a live-action Grinch
but I realized
thing.
I dropped it. He turned around and looked at me through the darkness as my flashlight spun onto the ground. Standing by the door, he looked at me, saying the words, "You can't escape, brother.
Look like an outdoor
I'm hungry, and you have to feed your baby brother. You will never escape this place, and you'll be here, a part of me, forever and ever and ever, in the happiest hell in the whole wide world." He reached his claws up as I scrambled to find my gun, only finding my flashlight. He flicked the switch on the wall, turning off the lights. Hearing footsteps throughout the room as he ran around it in the darkness, I grabbed my flashlight and rolled off to the side as I heard him tackle the area where I was right before then. "Where are you, brother? You know you can't escape. Just give me what I want. I need your flesh." My heart was pounding, with sweat streaking down my body. I felt my stomach turning inside of me. Is this even real? A part of me wanted to just find my gun and put it in my mouth and pull the damn trigger. But I can't. I've got to survive this. I've got to expose this shit. I turned my flashlight on, but the batteries were out of sync, and it kept on flashing in the room, on and off. I scanned the room with every single blink I could, and then I found him. He was in the corner of the room, looking directly at me. He charged as he jumped into the air, leaping right in front of me. I pulled out my knife, and I swung it in front of me. I heard the gashing sounds of a wound as I heard a scream of pain from James. The flashlight got knocked out of my hand as his body landed right next to mine. Gooey warm blood streaked across my face. I scanned the room. I saw where he was. The flashlight blinked on and off. Every second on the second. On, off, on, off. I looked at him, back turned to me, holding his hand on his face. Then he stood up and swung around. I stabbed his eyes out. He was completely blind. I cut him right in half. They were so big, I couldn't have not hit them. I can only imagine his rotten flesh must have made it easier to cut through his face. I saw yellow liquid draining out of the eyes. Clumpy. It was his blood.
Oh.
I can't see you, brother, but I can still get you. I'm going to eat you, rip you apart. I'm going to kill you. The light blinked on and off and on and off as I saw him getting closer and closer and closer. I knew what I had to do. I picked up something off the ground and threw it at the wall the opposite side of the room. He heard it all at once, smiling, and pounced on it. I ran up behind him and slashed his legs. His skin was so rotted that it just slid right through the bone. One of his legs were cut off completely. And then I whacked at the other one. The warm, yellow, goopy blood fall all over my body, stain my clothing, fall all over my hands. As I took the knife and I stabbed him in the gut multiple times, cutting him, all I heard was hysterical laughter from my brother, laughing in enjoyment as I cut him to pieces. I must have cut him anywhere from 10 to 20 times until I stopped. I ran over to the wall where the door was and I flipped the switch on. I started bawling my eyes out. I picked up the pistol. And then I pulled back the trigger as I started breathing intensely. And then I pulled the trigger, shooting James right in the heart, lodging the bullet.
I thought he killed him.
I saw the yellow blood shoot everywhere. I dropped to my knees and watched as blood started filling up his lungs. The bullet was basically a nail in the coffin for him. I grabbed my blinking flashlight and slapped the back of it, making the blinking light stay strong. Cutting through the darkness once again to see James sitting there. He was foaming from the mouth with yellow blood pouring down him. Then got on the wall opposite of him and then sat down, looking directly at his black eyes. Why did you make me do that? Why did you make me do that to you, James? He was coughing up blood. As he tried speaking, I could tell his lungs were filling up with it. I had to, brother. Frederick, you have to understand. I had to. At least I don't have to die alone. I still have you here. Still looking after me. What'll happen to you after you leave here? Are you dying? Yes. But you're not really scared of anything. Frederick, you've always been strong. If anyone could get out of here, it's you. How do I get out of here? How do I leave, James? That's the interesting part. There is a way, but you're going to have to do things you could have never imagined of doing. It's why I couldn't do it. I'm not as strong as you. What'll happen to you when you die? I think I get a second chance, born into another life. It's how it works when you die. Most mortals don't know the answers to these questions. So consider yourself lucky. I don't have much time, but I'm gonna give you a hint. Don't go down the hallway anymore. You need to get out of here. You have a family. You have kids. James will be okay. His eyes started to recede from the blackness, and they started changing back to normal. His body started shifting from that ugly, disturbed mess back into what he looked like before he went. His hoofs turned into normal feet. His clothes became undirty. and his blood changed to red. I love you so much, brother. I felt my heart start to sink. Last time, I only had to take care of his body. I didn't have to watch him die. But this time, I don't even know if I murdered my brother or if I saved him. I felt tears streak down my face.
You're getting me choked up, I won't lie.
I love you too, James. For a moment, I saw a smile hit across his face as I hugged him one last time. Goodbye, brother. Just then his body instantly turned into bones as I felt every single last bone move past me and fall onto the floor. His clothes were gone too, but the yellow blood that stained my face was still there. I whimpered and bawled my eyes out. I missed him. And now I just fucking killed him. But he's right about one thing. I need to get out of here. I grabbed the pistol and the flashlight.
Wow.
I looked down and I noticed one thing. Amongst the pile of bones was the bullet that I shot into his heart. It didn't go all the way through, and it was kind of smashed, but I picked it up and I put it in my pocket to remember him by. I opened up the door and shut it behind me. There was one more room that I had to see, he said.
Wow.
Waving the tears off my face and the blood off of my neck, I walked over to the door and I opened it. I looked for a light switch, but couldn't find one. I clicked on my flashlight and scanned the room. The room was full of dirty dishes and trash, old rotted skin. This must have been his kitchen of some sort. However, there was a piece of paper laying down on the counter. I looked at it, and upon closer inspection, it was a map. It had a list of rooms, drawn out just like the hallway I went through. But further down, it had one big double door, and it said, him. I knew if there was one place I just had to go, it was to see him. I took the map, I put it in my back pocket. Flashlight and gun in hand, I opened up the door and stepped out, going towards the door that leads to the hallway. But then I realized something. Right as I was about ready to reach for the handle, I noticed the door was slightly cracked. I don't remember leaving it like that. I was going to think nothing about it, thinking maybe James did it. But then I heard a cackling sound behind me.
Uh-oh.
I reached for my flashlight and my gun. As I turned around, putting on the flashlight. Before I could, something knocked me on my back.
That looks like made
I
out of
landed
meat or
and
something.
pointed the flashlight upwards. Before me, I don't even know if I can describe this. I saw a blood-stained, 9-foot-tall, unhinged jawed Donald Duck. It was looking at me with its big, beady eyes, and I saw its face without a beak. His lips curled up into a cold, bloody, spine-tingling, evil smile.
Ugh.
Before I could even think, it started to laugh, with its throat catching on its teeth.
It's like a monkey. Whoa. It's like a monkey, or is it Mickey Mouse made out of meat? Whoa. Anyway, well, that was not... well, that was, disturbing, as usual. That wasn't... It wasn't actually that scary. Like, it was quite... Like, it was disturbing, but it wasn't as scary as the other two. It wasn't as scary as Gateway to Hell and Return to Hell, but man, it was actually quite depressing the way Frederick had to fight James. I think I even got choked up when James was dying and Frederick had to kill him. That was honestly hard to listen to. Oh wow, that's who knew a Disney creepypasta could almost make me cry. But that's all I have for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a like, leave a comment, all that jazz. And hope you all enjoyed that reaction video. I'm sorry if I didn't give that much of a reaction, but it wasn't all too bad for the Gateway to Hell series, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was as scary as the other two. But without further ado, I will see you the next night. I'm Harry3TV, remember, you don't have to.